This is Shane Muller with the Upper Bay Podcast, and you guys are listening to the Tracks and Tackle Podcast.
Welcome back to the Tracks and Tackle Podcast, where the woods meet the water and the stories run deep. I'm your host, Ron Menser, and today we're trading in the tree stand for the kayak because we got a special guest who knows the Chesapeake Bay like the back of his hand. Joining us is Eddie Weber, better known as the Severn River Angler on Instagram, a Maryland-based angler with a serious passion for kayak fishing and chasing snakehead. Eddie's not just reeling in monsters, he's also mastermind behind High Octane Custom Baits, a brand making serious waves in the fishing world. So whether you're a diehard fisherman or just looking to learn something new, you're in for a treat today. Let's dive into the world of snakehead, soft plastics, and a wide ride of running bait with Eddie Weber. Hey, hunting family, welcome back to Tracks and Tackle. We got a good one for you tonight. With us, we got our co-host, Chris Bookman from 3B Outdoors. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, Ron? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm Ron Menser, and I'm with Menser Outdoors, and together we host the Tracks and Tackle podcast. And tonight we got a sweet guest. Been looking forward to this one for a while. We got Eddie Weber with us. Eddie, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So Chris, I'm gonna toss it to you because you lined Eddie up as the guest. Why don't you take it from here and let's get into this conversation.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Ron. Yeah, Eddie, thanks for coming on, buddy. Fellow Marylander coming on here with these Pennsylvania boys. So let's just get it out of the way, man. Tell us about yourself and tell us about High Octane Custom Baits, and then we'll get into your story, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. So owner of High Octane Custom Baits, started back in 2020 by my buddy Steve, and I bought it from him last year and have been running it ever since. So also have a brand, Severn River Angler. Live in Annapolis, fish a lot on the Severn River, grew up on the Severn River, so kind of made the brand to take pride in the river itself. There's a lot of bay stuff out there, which is awesome. But to really take pride in the river, I think is pretty unique.
Yeah, it's a really cool area down there, man. That's
I love it.
Really cool area, So tell us about your journey into fishing, man, and then just get into that, man. Let's dive into you, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I've always loved fishing. I grew up fishing. My mom's grandfather was actually huge into fishing, so I think I just had that in my blood because I actually never met him. He passed away before I could meet him, but I think I've just always had that in my blood. Always fished on vacations, grew up on the water, grew up in Annapolis, lucky enough to do that. And really in 2020, we repowered our Grady White, and that really kind of boost me right back into the fishing addiction, and just been loving the water ever since.
Yeah, you can't beat it, dude. Tell us about
it.
Well, I know you hinted at it. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
No, I'm just I'm sitting here listening to, like, fishing's in my DNA, man. That's how we all got started.
Yeah, I really think it is because I've just always gravitated to the water.
Yeah. It's so different too, the area that you're from, because I grew up in like the foothills of northern Maryland, running through creeks and fishing creeks and farm ponds and stuff like that. So
yeah,
just the water and stuff down there. And it's such a cool, if you've never been to Annapolis, and I'm not talking about the Navy Academy, I'm talking where you're from. I mean, it's such a cool area down there to get on the water, and the history down there and just the architecture of it. It's just a cool area. You can't say it any better. It's just cool.
No, it is so cool. And like I love the bay because every every river tributary in the bay can be totally different.
Yeah.
The Severn fish is different from the Magathys from the south, and they're, just a few miles from each other, and they just fish completely differently. So you can, spend your whole life fishing the Chesapeake Bay and never hit all the spots.
Yeah. That's what I love about fishing too, man. I mean, even the same pond, lake, stream, river. I mean, everything's going to be different. Just trying out the tackle box, going through what you got, trying different things. You know, it's just such a cool challenge for me, especially somebody that grew up more hunting. You know, that's such a cool thing for me to go out and do. So you kind of hinted at it, Eddie, but talk about how you got into the high octane custom thing and how you took that over, man.
Yeah, so Buddy Steve started in 2020. We met and just became really good buddies. Joined the High Octane kind of team back then, and Steve was the one that got me into snakehead fishing. And ever since I caught that first snakehead, it really just took off from kayak fishing, from the boat, uh, from land, all the things. And that was when right during COVID where we could go fish every day. It was just like that was all you do.
Yeah,
So it really, just exploded in 2020. Just really kickstarted my love for fishing back up again. Because it just being able to go out that much was really awesome, and getting into new species like snakehead really helped take that all off. So then back in 2023, started, helping Steve out more with the business, and 2024 put a plan together to take it over, and bought it from him last year. And, it's going as good as ever. We've been having a great year. So really appreciate
oh,
everyone's support out there.
that's awesome. Well, you kind of hinted at it too, but get into snakeheads, man. How you got into that, and you know, talk about some of the biology of that, if you know, because that was like a scary thing in the early 2000s, late 90s. I was just telling Ron about that snakehead terror. I
Oh,
remember.
it was that like 2000, I've always kind of heard about snakeheads, but it was like, when I got, you know, totally ramped back up into fishing, it was that new species. I always grew up rock fishing, perch fishing, everything in the bay, which was great, and I love it, and I still do a ton of that. But it was this new, different species, and back in 20 or 2000, really, when they were first introduced, or the reports came out of it, it was like terror, right? It was like these invasive species that are just going to take over the ecosystem. Nothing's going to be ever survive. They can walk across land and all this stuff. And
Yeah,
I think a lot of that still exists, that like that initial fear from DNR, from just the media in general,
hmm,
that they put out there, definitely still exists. The kill them all people are still out there, uh, but I think they are, this is all my opinions, and just from talking to people, and my angler watching it out there for years and years, they're definitely cohabitating in the same spaces with bass and striped bass and all the other fish, and everything's equaled out in a lot
Right.
of places to me. Of course, there's some places that they might be taking over more than others and stuff
hmm,
like that, but this kind of widespread, they're going to just take over everything, and just nothing's going to exist, or they can't cohabitate with anyone else.
yeah,
uh, just really kind of backtrack a little bit, um, and a lot of the focus from DNR, at least, has been more on catfish, and still an invasive species, and unfortunately I think they always will be, but I think there's less effect, and that's just my opinion.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was telling Ron before you got on about. I remember it in the early 2000s. The Sci-Fi Channel actually had a movie called Snakehead Terror, and they were crossing the roads, and
Right,
you
right.
know, and it's funny now because you probably are living it and seeing it more than I am, but like catfish are like destroying some of the bay now. Like they're eating crabs, and they're the ones that are actually invasive, really more than what they thought the snakeheads were going to do, right?
Yeah, I think the blue cats, I wish there was a more of an invasive campaign for them when the invasive snakehead campaign started, because I think we're catching up on how much the blue cats, how much damage they're doing with the crabs. And I mean, they're just vacuums, snakehead they eat a lot. They're pretty aggressive, but what snakeheads can get, I mean, the record's 20 pounds, but the most you're going to catch, big ones are between 10 and 14 pounds, where that's like a juvenile blue cat, right?
Yeah.
Where blue cats are getting up to 50, 100 pounds, whatever, and they're just vacuums, just eating anything on the ground. Where, snakehead are, in the places where bass and striped bass spawn. But to me, I just see less effect from them than the blue cats.
Do you remember when they were like poisoning ponds and streams and waterbeds for snakehead?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Did you ever hear about
that pond and buoy they tried to. I mean, they're they're a hardy fish. I mean, it's crazy how many times I'll catch a fish with, arrow holes through its body, half a lip or whatever, and it's still eating the frog. It's crazy how hardy they can be, and I think that is a little bit of the fear of, how hard they are, hard to kill, where they, once they get that big, what else is going to eat them. But there's quite the economic.
Before we jump to the next, before we jump to the next part, how are you competing with those guys that are bow fishing with that? That's a big thing now down there, man.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. That I don't love it. Obviously, I respect what they do if we're all sticking, within the same rules. Eat what you kill. Don't put it just on the bank and stuff like that. And I think, just like everything, I think 2% of the people that are doing it wrong give a bad rap for the other 98% that are doing it right. And it does kind of control the population a bit, but at the same time, once those grasses come up in the bay and stuff like that, I've heard it's pretty tough for the bow guys to even get the snakeheads, because they're so buried deep in that grass that it gets much tougher. Now, the grass hasn't come up right now yet because of the cold winter and stuff like that. So that is a little bit of a concern on how much damage they're doing right now.
Okay. Ron,
let me jump in here. Yeah, let me jump in here, guys, because I was having an audio issue and I didn't catch everything that you were going through. But
all good.
When you're talking about the snakeheads, and one of the things that came to my mind, a question, I guess, is you said about things from your perspective, Eddie. It's not as bad as it initially was, sort of portrayed. And I was thinking, like, nature is really the great equalizer. Like, I mean, like, nature, like, figures it out.
Yeah.
But my question really is like, do you do, even like right now to our audience, you're educating us on the ins and the outs of this. Like, do you do seminars and that type of stuff where, you're educating the public on, things like snakehead fishing?
Yeah, I do sometimes through local clubs and stuff like that. So I'll get invites to talk about high octane, but then just about kind of in general how to catch them and my opinions on them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, education's so important, because I mean, without experience, people will believe anything. So
no, absolutely, and I think that's what is unfortunate, that the original campaign against snakehead is so stuck in people's mind that they can't get over that they can't see through that this could be a pretty beneficial fish to give the striped bass a break. Let's go fish for snakeheads. Let's go do something different, because the striped bass in the bay are in a real dire strait.
And they're fun to fish.
And they're so fun. I like it better than rockfish. I'll be out on the boat and I'm like, okay. I'm like out for a couple hours, catch some rockfish. And I'm like, all right, let me go see if I can find a snakehead. It's here or there,
Right on. Right on.
Yeah. You want to jump to the next one, Ron?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, one of the things that when I was like looking into, your socials and your YouTube and stuff, like, one of the things that I really noticed was you do a lot of kayak fishing,
I do.
And so, like, talk to me about like the advantages and the challenges of, what's the benefit of kayaking fishing in Maryland's waterways?
Absolutely, absolutely. One quick plug, talking about the education and seminars and stuff.
Right.
Cambo Trout does an excellent job on YouTube,
Yeah.
and seminars on that education, taking a study and saying here's maybe some of the holes in it and stuff like that. He does a fantastic job of that. So just a small plug
That guy's got
Fantastic.
really
for
cool.
his stuff, and
Yeah.
it just great guy. Yeah, all
Yeah.
around great guy.
Cool. Cool.
But yes, kayak fishing. Got into that was right back in 2021. Got into kayak fishing. Got my first kayak and just loved it because it's just perfect for snakehead fishing because you're going, to Blackwater. You're going to places where you could never bring a boat, and it's like the quintessential vessel to go through the pads, go through these little tiny streams, go through these swamps. That's part of why I like snakehead fishing is you're going to spots that you would never have even looked at and explored before.
Right.
I didn't go to Blackwater to go fishing before snakehead, and I don't know a ton of people that that did. So it's like a whole new thing where you're going to explore a lot of different cool areas.
Cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. What are the challenges, right? What are the challenges you face with kayak fishing, and how do you overcome those type of things? Because I
Yeah,
get
so
like an expansion of area to go explore. I mean, every outdoorsman, like that's our dream, right?
absolutely. So a couple of challenges. I mean, I think the overall distance you can go is definitely limited. So you can think of that as a challenge where, in my boat I can go, oh, this creek's not working, I'll go over to this creek.
Yeah.
But in a kayak, you can't do that. So it's kind of a disadvantage. You're not flying from creek to creek, but at the same time it makes you really learn that area a little bit better, really fish it hard, and you're limited to like a certain area, so you really got to target where you go. Um, so that's a little bit tough part about kayak fishing. Uh, I learned right away that I wanted a very stable kayak that I could stand up in. So
Sure.
that was I guess a challenge that I avoided. So I got the big water uh, 105 at first, big fish, and now I have a native Slayer, which I just love. It's pretty stable. I love standing up, trying to sight cast for things, and so that thing has just been. It's very light but extremely stable. Um, I guess another challenge too is you're limited on space. You're in. Kind of blows my mind sometimes that I'll be out on this kayak all day, and I've traveled up and down the creek, but I haven't left this 2x2 space in
Right.
10 hours. It's kind of crazy. So really got to focus on what you bring, kind of pare down what you can have. But I love having everything just right there too, where sometimes on the boat you're like, oh shoot, I got that over there, and it's like a little chaotic where you got everything within arm's reach on a kayak.
Yeah, I got guys that duck hunt that are getting really into that, and they're decking them out just with enough stuff to be light and maneuverable, but everything's right there. And
Yeah.
and you know, to you hinted at the stability of it. If you never watch any of Eddie's videos, this dude sets the hook, man. Like
Yeah,
he's
you
a
rip
ripper,
on him.
man.
You rip
Yeah,
it.
That's what you got to do.
yeah.
So
you know.
my buddy Steve told me his first advice was buy your second kayak first. So don't go out and do like, the cheap,
Trial and
go to
error.
yeah. If you think you're gonna love it, first of all, they hold their value like crazy. I could sell my kayak for almost the same as I bought it for 3 years ago. It's crazy, but I would definitely recommend pedal drive. It's a little more expensive, but that's going to help a ton getting from kind of spot A to spot B, keeping you in the same spot. You can cast while you pedal a little bit.
Hmm.
So those are kind of some of my kayak tips or things to avoid.
Love it.
We kind of hinted on the invasive species part already, and I refuse to call them Chesapeake Channas.
Yeah.
You know? But talk about your involvement in the community and how, I know you're kind of big with that and getting out there, and you're always putting out tournaments and doing different things like that. So hit on that, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of with my Seven River Angler brand that I started, kind of bringing the pride to the Seven River, pride to the river. Uh, I love just bringing helping people get on the first snakehead, get on the first fish. I have a lot of people that just message me and it's like, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always open to that, always helping out. Love when I'll make a lure, send it to someone. They're like, hey, I just caught that on your lure. I'm like, that's pretty cool, very very rewarding. Also, do a lot with CCA, the Annapolis chapter. I've talked with them a few times on snakehead and stuff like that, and donated trips and lure packages and stuff like that. So I love helping out with any community thing I can.
Cool. Yeah, I remember a couple years ago I was starting through 3B like a web journal, and you would put your tackle tips out, and
Yeah.
I just hit you up, man, and you sent me like, I mean, I don't know how many you sent me, man. So that kind of stuff it's with me and Ron, and no egos and different things. And I know before we got on, we had talked about like, Warren Taylor and stuff, but my brother lives in Maryland still, big time fisherman angler, and he was trying to get into snakeheads. And I was talking with Warren about some stuff, and I literally said this. I said, "Hey, dude, my brother's trying to get into snakeheads. Where's a good spot for him to go? I do not want your honey hole. I do not want whatever." And he said, "I'll tell you exactly where I catch him. I'll tell you exactly where I caught this one. If he's got a kayak, go here. If he's got a bigger boat, go here. If he's walking in, go here." And again, that kind of stuff resonates with me and Ron. Like,
Yeah.
all tides. It's good for everybody. Let's get everybody out.
That's right.
And and I can see that same kind of sentiment with you. So that stuff goes a long way with us, man. It really, really does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, raising the next generation of fishermen too. You just got to. It's a new. Like, I don't remember like in high school, middle school, like these kids being so into fishing. Like now, they're like all into it, and I think that's awesome. It's raising a whole new generation to be outside. You talk a lot about kids playing video games. They do a lot of that, but I mean, it's a cool movement of younger generation wanting to go snakehead fishing or just fishing in general.
Yeah, it's
You're
really cool.
speaking our language now. Next generation. Get outside, get outdoors.
Absolutely.
And just to piggyback on Chris's comment about what's good for one is good for all. I mean, because we're advocates of the sport, right?
Right.
We're not trying to do anything to get one up on the next guy doing something similar to what we offer or anything like that. And part of the things that I want to really hit on is I want to spotlight your High Octane Custom Baits.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see you got the wall behind you. You got a good,
Yeah.
setup, with the showcase here for the episode. But what are a couple standout products that you think are effective, and let's spotlight your product.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of our. I just took it out of the package because you guys are sitting on my frog rack here. But this is probably one of our most popular newest items. This is the HOCB duck. We came out with this just earlier this year. This is the two bladed. It's kind of got those duck feet you see.
Yeah.
This has been a killer bait. There's see if I can find it around here, but there's a walking version of that too that just has a single blade. I prefer skirts. Some guys prefer blades. Some days they eat blades. Some days they'll take the skirt. I don't know. It's just, I hate to say it, but you have to have both. You just some
That's
days,
fishing right there.
Exactly.
You gotta have options.
Absolutely. I mean, some days sometimes they don't eat at all. It's just It is what it is.
That's true too.
Yeah. So we have a lot of this is our Frogzilla 2.0 new topwater frog. So all of our frogs are weedless, of course. A lot of the improvements we've done this year is the hook gap and the body. the body is so soft, and you might think that's a disadvantage because it's going to rip or something like that, but it's an extremely durable rubber body, and it's actually the softer was still being durable, the better, because you want that body to easily collapse when it gets taken by the snake, so that you can expose that nice hook and set the hook, as hard as you can. Like you said, Chris, you got to hook set 10,000.
Yeah.
That is some hard mouths. You got to get those.
I hear you,
You got to
dude.
get those hooks through them.
Heck yeah.
So then some of the subsurface stuff, I love our weedless chatter. So a lot of or just about every one of our products comes in a weedless version. So this is a chatterbait. It's a 1/4 ounce head. You can get them in a ton of different colors, but then it has an EWG hook on the back. So you can rig your paddle tail, anything you want on there, tuck that hook in, and you can throw this in the pads, through the grass, stumps, anything. So a lot of, especially northern snakehead, are in thick cover.
Mhm.
So they're not really going to chase it out, 5-10 feet out of cover. First of all, a lot of water you're fishing is pretty murky, and you really got to throw it kind of where they are. So really over their head, throwing it really close to them. So that's why we make just about everything weedless, so that you can throw it into those stump fields. You can throw it into that pad field and just rip it out, and be able to throw it wherever they are.
Heck
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
What's your go-to? What's your favorite one, Eddie?
So favorite topwater lure, I'd have to say, I love this Frogzilla.
Yeah.
Super soft. It's just super versatile. You can throw this anywhere. And then, the bladed or the skirted duck. It's nice because sometimes with snakehead, downsizing from this to this profile, just a little skinnier, can make a big difference. Just that profile, sometimes they just shy away from a little bit. I say this is like an average size frog. This is kind of like the size of a spro frog, if you would.
Right.
Where this has a little just slimmer profile. So, I always start with the Frogzilla, and then I kind of go to the duck, or we even have much smaller guys, which are about half the size of this guy.
Awesome. Those colors, and I've commented on this for you before, but the colors are just out of this world. I think that's just the coolest thing.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, they love bright colors. They love bright colors. They love action blades. So then, subsurface, I showed you the chatterbait. That's definitely one of my go-tos. Or the weedless trident. I should have some plastics on here by Spectra, but this is an inline, which you put the paddle tail right through here. Just has sometimes if the snakes are being a little finicky that day, they like the spin noise and feel better than the chatterbait. Sometimes it'll actually kind of spook them from where they are, so they can just be super sensitive to that kind of stuff. So that would kind of be my top 4 baits if I had to put them on my box.
Mount Rushmore of Eddie's baits.
Yeah,
top 4.
exactly.
What about your customers, man? What's their favorite? What's your top selling one? What are people asking for?
Yeah, that lines up pretty well. We whites. Those 4 kind of line up with our top sellers, I'd say. The color wise, pink is always good. White is good. I love kind of a natural color like a white or a green pumpkin, and then something crazy like a electric chicken pink, kind of to the direct opposite, depending on what the water clarity is, what they want that day. Sometimes they just want that bright color to get their attention.
I got you.
Sure. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, and I think you touched on this earlier, about, getting these young people out, or even if they're not young, somebody that wants to get into this type of fishing,
Yeah.
what tips or advice would you give to somebody that's new to fishing, or looking to improve their skills? Like, what would you say to your younger you if you had to go back and talk to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So don't be shy about reaching out and asking questions. I think that's one of the biggest ones. I think that's what helped me. Do some research first. Go on, my Instagram, Cambo's Instagram. My buddy Cha Cha Fishing has a great Instagram about snakeheads and different stuff. There's a lot of videos out there where you can get kind of beginner knowledge, put that to the test, and then if you need more information or want more questions, reach out to any of those guys too, and feel free to just ask some questions. But then also just go explore. Snakeheads are just about everywhere now, and if you find there's so many resources out there to find where they are, whether it's Facebook. There's a lot of different kind of DNR sites that have tracked the snakeheads too. Kind of just target some of those areas and then just take baby steps forward. If you're snakeheads are crazy too. You never know whether you're going to catch a 20-incher or an 18-pounder can be sitting in the same little tiny hole, and sometimes it doesn't matter if you're throwing. They'll eat the same bait. So that's kind of the cool part. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go throw a 6-inch frog to catch that 18-pound snakehead. Sometimes they're eating peanuts.
Yeah. Cool, man. As we we're getting ready to kind of wrap this up. What advice do you have for people trying to use this as, we kind of hinted at this before. I'm trying to find my words. You've been open about your sobriety and different things. How has this been a tool for you with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So been alcohol free for, checked it today, 1,290 days.
Wow.
So over 3 years. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Fishing, and especially fishing really helped that. I dove hard into fishing instead, kind of focused all my energy. It helped me get my mind off of drinking. High Octane did as well. Building lures, stuff like that, helping out people, and just getting on the water. I mean, there were, I think 2021 or 22. I was out on the water, almost 100 days. So I was trying to get out as much as I can just to kind of distract myself from that part of my life. So I'm happy where I am now, very happy, and just encourage everyone to, get out and explore the fresh air. That always helps a lot, and I'm always open if everyone needs any tips, advice, just an ear to be a sounding board too as well.
It's a really good accomplishment, dude. Way to go, man.
Appreciate that.
It's awesome.
Appreciate that.
It's Eddie Weber. He is the Severn River Angler. You can find him online at Severn River Angler, and check out the website highoctanecb.com, and go get yourself some of those baits that they put out. It's a great story, Eddie. Really appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit tonight. One of the things that we always say is, once you come on once, you become part of the hunting family, and you're always welcome back. So
Love it.
Certainly we can do a follow-up, but appreciate your time tonight, man. Love hearing your story. Love seeing the impact on the fishing community, in your area. And personally, I love how your brand is, you tie it back to the community, to the river.
Yeah.
And so like that speaks to me. You're speaking our language about getting the next generation out there, getting them involved, and so that's what we're all about, man. So I appreciate you coming on with us tonight.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to next time.
Yeah, come back anytime, dude. We'll be in touch, man.
That sounds awesome. Come do some hunting up there or something.
Yeah, dude, we'll get you on some ducks. I mean, you're in a pretty good duck spot right down there.
Yeah, there's a lot of duck hunters out in the winter time. When I'm pickerel fishing, I'm getting out there and they're boom, boom, boom all over the place. Yeah.
One of my buddies actually won through the Maryland DNR blind drawing right at the mouth of the Severn River where it dumps into where you're at. He won a blind spot down there last year. So,
oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
you're part of the ship, part of the crew now, buddy. So we'll have you back.
I love it.
And,
that's it.
Stuff, dude.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, he's the Severn River angler. We appreciate you coming back on. If you guys out there listening, we just always want to remind you to get outdoors and stay wild. See you next time.